All right, hope everybody had a great weekend. And now we're going to look at the phases of the moon. I think this is one of the toughest things that we do all year. You really have to understand this picture. And the first thing to understand is what causes the phases of the moon. And if you take a look at the left-hand side. Now they could put this on the right-hand side also, which kind of could throw people off a little bit. But here's the sun over here. So you got the sun, let's just say over here, right? And the sun is kind of shining toward Earth. Now take a look, the sun's on the left-hand side. If you take a look at Earth, you could see it almost looks like a black and white cookie, right? You have the light side over on the left and the dark side on the right. So the lighter side is showing you where it's getting lit up by the sun. So if you take a look at this side of Earth here is actually in daytime. And the Earth kind of rotates counterclockwise. So if you go right here, right at this point right here, the Earth, this point on Earth right here, is actually going into nighttime. We would say this is like 6 or 7 p.m. That's sunset. And then if you go to the other side of the world, they're rotating like this. They're going into the sunlight. So this right here would be sunrise, 6 a.m., that would be noon, 6 p.m., midnight. All right, and what we're looking at is what causes the phases of the moon to occur. So the moon is, well, basically the moon gets lit up by the sun. So what we're going to do to figure out the phases of the moon, I'll show you that in a couple of minutes, is we are going to basically continue these arrows through the moon, and you'll be able to see from Earth how much of the moon looks like it's lit up. Now what causes the phases of the moon is this, the fact that the moon is revolving around Earth. The moon moves around us. And one of the questions you're going to start to see is, well, that's the first question. What causes the phases of the moon? It's the revolution of the moon around the Earth. You need to know that. Also, just like the Earth moving around the sun, at one time during the year, the moon is actually closer to us. And we see that sometimes when we see like the supermoon. It looks really big in our sky. That's when the moon is closest to Earth. And sometimes the moon looks smaller. That's called apogee, when the moon is furthest from Earth. And the revolution of the moon around the Earth not only causes the phases, but its gravitational pull on us causes tides. And we see a high tide every day and a low tide. We actually see 2 high tides, 2 low tides every day, and eclipses. Now eclipses don't happen every month because the sun, the moon, and the Earth are not sitting perfectly in line. The moon is tilted a little bit from the orbit, about 5 degrees. We call that an incline. So that's why we don't get eclipses every month. All right, so let's take a look at how to do the phases of the moon. And I'm going to try and do this as quickly as possible. These videos are large and sometimes they take a long time to download. So what I did here, I printed out a picture of the moon going around the Earth with my awesome drawing there. And you can see we put the sun on the left-hand side. Now remember, it could be on the right-hand side. That would change things up. But here's the first thing I do, and you should do this too when you get the phases of the moon. You see how it's showing the moon moving around the Earth? What you want to do, you just kind of want to complete that circle like this. Just like that, just like that. Keep going around like that, so forth, until you complete your circle. Okay. Now, one of the questions you could get is how long does it take the moon to do a full revolution around the Earth? If they ask you that, go right to the reference table, page 15. Here's Earth's moon. Now, every time we've seen period of revolution here, that was for each planet going around the sun. Earth's moon, it's telling you how long it takes to do a full revolution around Earth. And it takes 27.3 days. And actually, take a look at the period of rotation. It's the same exact number. So that's why we only ever see one side of the moon. And what else do we need to know here? Also, it might ask you, how long does it take to do a full cycle of the phases? That actually is not 27.3 days. That takes a month. And by the way, how did we get the name month on the calendar? That's how the ancient cultures used to be able to tell how long a month was. They actually used the moon. They called it a month. All right, so now knowing that, let's see if we could figure out the phase of the moon. So you see how the positions here are numbered, 1 to 8? What you're going to do is this. You're standing on Earth. You're looking at the moon from Earth. All right, if you're standing right there, you're only going to be able to see the inside of the circle. So I'm just going to cover the part I can't see and take a close look. At position 1, you don't see anything lit up on the moon. That means it looks completely dark to us. So if I were just to go here at position number 1, that's what it would look like to us. We call that a new moon. Now I'm going to go to position 2. I'm looking like this. Now this is the tricky part. I want to turn the page right now. I got to turn this page, and the reason is I have to turn it because I want to look from Earth. I'm here. I'm this way. I'm pointing. I'm behind the camera. So I'm going to turn this around to make it so I'm looking from Earth. Notice now I'm on Earth. I'm looking at the moon. I'm going to cover it, the outside part, and if you take a look, it looks like the right side is lit up a tiny bit, mostly dark, a tiny bit. That would mean that this, at position 2, is what we call a crescent moon. All right, so notice it's lighting up on the right. The moon will light on the right. All right, now I'm going to look at position 3. Again, I have to turn the page right now because I'm looking from Earth at the moon. And I'm going to cover the outer part. And now doesn't it look like 50% is lit up to me and 50% is dark? I'm really only seeing a quarter, but I can't see on the outside. That's the half of the moon that's facing away from Earth. So it looks like half and half. We call position 3 a quarter moon because we're really only seeing a quarter, but notice it's lit up half on the right and dark on the left. Okay, and then position 4. Again, I want to turn the page because I got to face from Earth. All right, and I'm going to cover the outside part that I can't see. And now if you take a look, doesn't it look like it's more than 75% lit up on the right? Notice it's on the right. The moon will light on the right. We call this, by the way, the waxing phase. All right, so you take a look at position 4, and now you can see that it's lighting up more and more. This is waxing. We call that the waxing gibbous. And then, now take a look at position 5. The sun, the earth, and now the moon is on the other side. Now they're all in line. And I'm going to cover the half that I can't see. And notice it looks all lit up. So when they're in line and the earth is in the middle, we call that the full moon. And it tells you how many days to see this part of the cycle or this phase. 30 days in a month. We're halfway around in that cycle. 15 days to get here. Now, watch this. We're on Earth, we're looking at the moon. Notice I don't have to turn the paper now because I'm on Earth and I'm looking that way. So I'm going to cover this, and now we went from a full moon, and you can see it's starting to fill in now, and it's filling in on the right, and just a little bit. So if you take a look here, position 6, it's filling in on the right, but it's mostly lit up. We call this the gibbous again. They could call this the old gibbous. Now when it starts to fill in, instead of waxing, we call this the waning phase. So now it's a waning gibbous. And now, looking from Earth at position 7, I'm going to cover the moon, the half that I don't see. Looks 50-50. Remember, I'm only seeing a quarter. Position 7, this is called either the third quarter or the waning quarter. Now I'm going to go here. Again, I'm looking from Earth at the moon. I'm going to cover the half that I don't see. A little sliver is lit up on the left, and now it's almost completely filled in on the right. We call that the waning crescent or the old crescent. And then it's 30 days later or 29 and a half days later, and we're back to this, the end of the month. That's the phases of the moon. Alright, so hopefully that helps you guys out. This is an extremely long video, but hopefully it clears things up. Definitely let me know if you have any questions over at Edmodo. And I am going to try something new using a program. Hopefully you get in your email some way to get into the program and answer questions right online. So hopefully that works. And if you have any problems, definitely email me. All right, see you next time.